The fifth episode of Bleach's 1000-Year Blood War arc is titled Wrath as a Lightning. This episode was really impressive and it had featured a lot of moments that were adapted straight out of the manga. All at the same time, they had cut some scenes out of the story, as well as including some anime exclusive moments which served to excellently pad out the overall story of Bleach's final arc. This episode adapts material from chapters 500 to 505, which spans a total of 6 chapters which covered the 20-minute span of this episode. Now, as with all of these manga versus anime comparison videos, there's a lot to dive into, so let's begin by discussing what it's adapted before the opening song of the anime. Episode 5 begins with the Soul Society's Research and Development Institute relaying to the captains and lieutenants that Ichigo is on his way. However, the anime cuts out a panel at the start of chapter 500, where some messenger Shinigami state that sending a lengthy message to the captains and lieutenants while they are in combat is currently impossible. So instead, they have placed messaging swords onto the battlefield. The anime, on the other hand, chooses to just show the swords being placed across the different battlefields without this spoken context. Because of this, a scene from the manga is cut where Robert Acutron actually takes out one of the messenger Shinigami. There are several captains and lieutenants that react to the news that Ichigo is on his way, but the anime ends up cutting the reaction of Ryunosuke. When we cut back to the Research and Development Institute, we have a brief anime-only line said by one of the Shinigami, who states that when Ichigo arrives onto the battlefield, the tide of the battle will turn. Now, this line is said before Akon starts to talk about how Ichigo's spiritual pressure has disappeared from within the Garganta. Now, there are some changes made here to speed up the pacing and to remove some unnecessary padding. As in the anime, things begin to unfold differently here, as Ichigo's call with Akon ends up being disconnected, and Akon says that Ichigo isn't responding. And just as they begin to investigate what on earth is going on, Jidambo breaks into the facility, and we see the foot of the person who is responsible for controlling the oversized Shinigami. We also get this very brief anime-only clip where manga readers will know which Sternritter is actually controlling Jidambo, as it's revealed to be Pepe, through this glimpse that we see of his staff. We then cut to a scene of Ichigo trying to break free of the prison, and then reacting to the screams and explosions over the phone. The anime cuts and changes things here. Firstly, Ichigo's call to Akon was disconnected as he had to dial back within the anime. But within the manga, Ichigo can hear Akon and the others throughout this whole encounter, but they are unable to hear him, as he frantically tries to tell them that he is imprisoned. So all of this material where Ichigo is panicking because he is trapped and they aren't responding to him is streamlined into just one scene in the anime. Now, because this call is still connected in the manga, we actually see Ichigo react to Jidambo breaking in. In addition to this, the anime also cuts a scene with Hyosu staying behind so that Akon and Rin can escape the facility. The anime chooses to replace these two manga pages with this line of Hyosu telling Akon to get going. Ichigo hearing the screams of the different Shinigami doesn't include every single one within the anime. Instead, they have chosen a select handful of the quotes, and the anime adds an exclusive scene here of Rukia, who is encouraging the other Shinigami by saying that they must stand their ground because Ichigo will come. Now, the manga, on the other hand, we don't really know who says Ichigo will come. Now, this is a minor change, but it adds to Ichigo's emotional response here, as we know that this line was said by Rukia in the anime. And of course, after this scene, we cut to the opening song. After the opening, we wrap up material from the end of chapter 500 with a mysterious individual having arrived and just killed Kilge, and then this person ends up drawing their sword against Urahara. Now, all of this is just a straight up one-to-one adaptation from the manga. The anime then cuts a scene from the start of chapter 501, as within the manga it shows Ichigo's phone disconnecting his call with Urahara as he struggles not to sink into despair with his feelings of powerlessness. The anime, having removed this scene, only ends up showing us Ichigo not being able to break the prison with his Getsuga Tensho, as we then cut to Byakuya and Renji's battle against Aznod. A line from Byakuya is removed from the anime where he tells Renji that attacking an unfamiliar enemy all at once is a foolish way to lose the advantage of having outnumbered them. Now, after Renji objects to Byakuya fighting Aznod, there is a slight change with the reason why Byakuya is fighting the Sternritter. In the manga, he says that it's because he has more wisdom, so he's able to expose the nature of the enemy's abilities better, while in the anime it's because Byakuya is concerned that his Bankai has been stolen and they can't afford to lose Renji's Bankai too. Now, this once again kind of streamlines this conversation and removes the unnecessary fluff, as the point is conveyed via the anime and the manga because Byakuya is fighting so that Renji can identify the enemy's abilities. Asnod's explanation of his fear-inducing arrows is streamlined in the anime also, as the line about him applauding Byakuya for enduring his feelings of fear is cut, along with him stating that an ordinary Shinigami who is struck by one of his arrows would have screamed and died from fear by now. Following this, the scene where Rukia's face is decomposing is adapted really well into the anime, and it definitely succeeds at being frightening. After Byakuya is stabbed by Asnod, a line is cut from the anime where he comments on him still standing. During Asnod's explanation of fear without a cause, which he describes as being instinctual, we see some amazing anime-only scenes of flies crawling up Byakuya's body, as he is covered by a countless number of them. After Byakuya yells out, the anime has an exclusive scene of him swinging several times against the Stenritter, but each of the attacks are evaded by him, and this is before he has his own Bankai used against him. The manga, on the other hand, just has Byakuya attack once before he is then attacked by his own Bankai. Asnod using Senbon Sakura is extended within the anime, as we see the full sequence of its activation, as opposed to the manga where Byakuya is just attacked by it. The anime does a much better job of making this feel way more impactful, because seeing the Quincy use such an iconic power with the anime only visuals makes it look so unsettling, especially knowing that this is not Byakuya using this iconic power. Rukia reacting to Byakuya's drop in spiritual pressure after he is attacked is altered within the anime, as we get to see who she is fighting during the first invasion of the Quincy. In the anime, it is revealed that she was actually confronted and attacked by the Sternritter Meninas. Now in the manga, we know for years this was left ambiguous, and we didn't know who she was fighting against during this first invasion. Byakuya's defeat brings us to the end of the first half of this episode. Following this, we cut to Yuhobak and Hashward, but a scene within the anime is cut where Hashward tells Yuhobak that Byakuya is dead, as they speak about how it has taken longer than expected because the Sternritters are not being ruthless enough. All of this is removed because Kubo at the time of releasing this chapter probably wanted Byakuya dead here, but it is speculated that fan backlash was so intense that Kubo was left with no choice but to revive him. So this might be the reason why this line about Byakuya dying is omitted here. Instead, we just cut to the arrival of Kinpachi within the anime. The anime expands upon the defeats of each of the Sternritters, as Kinpachi's explanation of how he had defeated them is accompanied by some excellent anime-only visuals. This is yet again another scene where the anime does such an amazing job of adapting from the manga, and in general, this is what an adaptation is all about, doing things differently that fit the medium that the story is being told within. Now, following the scene where Ichigo yells out that he will protect everyone, which occurs at the mid portion of chapter 503, we cut to an anime exclusive scene of the Shinigami at the other side of the Garganta, saying that they cannot restore the exit from Hueco Mundo. We see that Hyosu is actually safe and alongside Akon. I think that it's strange that they have added this anime only scene here, but it may make sense if it ties into another anime only scene in a subsequent episode. The anime does an absolutely incredible job of depicting Driscoll activating Sasakibe's Bankai and Yamamoto recalling the first time that he had seen it. After Yamamoto is hit by an attack from Sasakibe's Bankai, a panel of Shuhei calling out to the head captain is cut from the anime, as we straight up just go into the flashback after the head captain is attacked. Now this is because Shuhei calls out to Yamamoto again after the flashback in a very similar manner, and it just goes to show that the anime is cutting out needless padding and repetitions that exist within the manga. After Yamamoto challenges Sasakibe to take him down with his Bankai, we get an anime only scene of their encounter. In the manga, we just get some dialogue of Yamamoto explaining how brilliant Sasakibe's Bankai was, along with a panel of his face with a second scar now on his head. However, the anime has an amazing exclusive scene here which depicts everything that was off-screened within the manga. The music, voice acting, and bright visuals all combine to really give this backstory so much emotion, making it really come to life. Now this Bankai activation of Sasakibe is my highlight for this episode. Within the manga, while Yamamoto is being attacked, Shuhei assumes that the head captain is unconscious, as he then charges towards Driscoll but is told to stop by Yamamoto. Now all of this is cut from the anime, as again the scene is streamlined for the sake of pacing, as we cut straight to Yamamoto defending the honor of his late lieutenant by killing the Sternritter. After Yamamoto rushes onto the battlefield in order to confront Yuhobak, we see some reactions from some of the captains who feel his spiritual presence. pressure. Now, Soifon's reaction in the manga has her lieutenant ask her what she is reacting to, as she ends up scolding him for not knowing. This brief comedic moment is cut from the anime, as well as Shinji telling Momo that they have got to hurry away from the battlefield because Yamamoto is about to let loose. Episode 5 concludes with Shunsui charging towards Robert as it takes us to the ending song. However, before the episode completely wraps up, there is a post-credit scene that adapts the last 6 pages of chapter 505, which involves Yhwach holding up Kenpachi by his neck as he is disappointed that he was able to defeat one of the 5 great war powers so easily. The episode is brought to a close after Yamamoto arrives and he challenges Yhwach. So following the defeat of Byakuya, Rukia, Renji and Kenpachi, and now that Yamamoto has gotten his revenge for the death of his lieutenant and he has finally confronted Yhwach, we have finally reached the end of episode 5. The next episode is going to be entirely focused on Yamamoto's battle against Yhwach, and I absolutely cannot wait to cover it. And I really hope that next week we get to see a flashback, even if it's very brief, of the original battle between the Quincy and Shinigami that had occurred over 1,000 years ago. In general, we seem to be continuing the pacing that was established by the first 4 episodes, with this most recent episode having adapted 6 chapters. Although the pacing of this episode in particular did feel much better, and I had really felt like there were some scenes that were given a lot more room to breathe in this episode, that in my opinion, episode 5 is easily the best episode that we have had thus far. I loved seeing Sasakibe activate his Bankai in the past, and just how well the anime did to maintain the serious tone and the pacing of the story in general. In general, the anime is known to have cut a lot of comedic moments that weren't necessary. Hopefully, by episode 5, you can understand why they are doing this. And also, they have removed a lot of scenes which repeat the same information twice within the manga. The 1000-Year Blood War arc is really picking up, and we may have the best episode of the first core of this final arc drop next week. So in anticipation of it, what do you want them to add or expand upon in next week's episode? Additionally, what were your favorite moments from episode 5? Did you enjoy how it had adapted 6 chapters into this episode? I look forward to reading all of your comments and for you all to continue the discussion and to let me know your thoughts on the latest installment of the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime. Lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I can't wait to see you in my next Bleach video. If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.